Have you ever felt like you're on a never ending treadmill in your personal growth journey, running tirelessly, but somehow still feel stuck in the same spot? You're not alone. Many of us grapple with this feeling, searching for that elusive catalyst that will propel us forward, closer to our goals and dreams. In today's video, we're diving into a powerful, often overlooked factor that can dramatically turbocharge your personal growth journey: the right community. Yes, the people you surround yourself with can make all the difference. From providing accountability and mentorship to celebrating your successes and offering support through challenges, the right community doesn't just accompany you on your journey, they become an integral part of your growth story. But how exactly does this work? And more importantly, how can you find or create such a community for yourself? Whether you're seeking to deepen your personal development, aiming for new heights in your career, or simply searching for spiritual growth, this video is for you. We'll explore the transformative power of community through practical tips, real life examples, and insights that will not only inspire you, but also equip you with the tools to actively engage in a community that uplifts and propels everyone towards their aspirations. So, if you're ready to break free from that treadmill and soar towards your goals with the support of a like minded community, stay tuned. This might just be a game changer that you've been waiting for. So, gentlemen, as we get this party started, I kind of want to ask a question off the cuff, right? Community. We hear it all the time. Community here, community there. People use terms family, whatever. What does all this mean? What does that mean to you?
That's literally the first thing that was going to come out of my mouth. As I was like, we need to figure out exactly what community is, because it does look a lot different. It looks different to different people. And in some spaces of the Black community, it encompasses all Black people. I think that each individual has their own interpretation of what community is, and I think it really looks different for everybody. I think on a general level, for me, my community consists of my wolf pack and, you know, people that are immediate to me, people that are within arm's reach, and probably 2 levels out, right? So that means like people like co-workers and stuff like that, but they're like on the outside of my community. You know, the community we have, I think we have that community, and then I think we have like a personal community. And my personal community is people like you guys, the people I talk with on Friday nights, other guys that I may know in my wolf pack or my circle, certain family members, certain relatives, certain friends, and stuff like that that I have grown and built relationships with over time. So for me, those are my community. People on the outside of my community don't get to dictate to me what my community is. I get to determine what my community is. So again, I think it looks different from different people, but I don't allow people to box me in and tell me what part of the community that I belong to. So I don't know why I said that, but I think it was for a reason.
I'm always reminded of scripture of some sort, right? And I think we've kind of brought this up before, but you get reminded when Christ says, who is my mother, who is my sister, right? Who's my brother, so forth, and those who do the will of my Father, right? That's my community. So how do I make that portable on a broad spectrum? Is like-minded individuals. The key idea is my community. It has to support. It has to it uplifts. You know, it holds each other down. But in order for us to do that in a sound way, to have a singular mindset, not be the same person, but our mindset, right? My my goal is to please the Father. My community goal is to please the Father. Now, I think we grow in that. I'm not saying that we're going to agree on every aspect, of what that means or what that looks like or whatever that like-mindedness is of you and your community, but we don't part ways because we disagree, at least without searching out the true answer. Because I believe, just like Proverbs 18 says, that it's a fool who argues without hearing the whole of a matter, right? So we got to really decipher what we are saying and what we are doing, so we know that we're walking the same path. You know, I think you can definitely be doing two different things, but still on the same journey. I know a lot of people say, well, we're on different journeys. And I think sometimes we're doing different things, but it's the same journey. I could be a roofer and you can be an electrician, but it's the same house we're building. So that's how that's how I look at it when I say community. Now, granted, if I introduce somebody to the mindset coach, I'm gonna say, hey, this is my big bro. So yeah, I also call my community my family, right? Because I got family members that I knew growing up that we don't text, call, or check. Not unless somebody's sick or passing away, or we ain't heard from somebody, a matriarch, patriarch of the family. Then we'll say, hey, have you heard from? And then we won't hear from each other again. So my family, the ones that check on me, the ones that support me, the ones that I can do the same and get the same energy from, I do call them also my family.
I like what I'm hearing. Of course, I got to dig a little deeper. We just can't let that stay out there as is. Garfield, if I can sum up what I heard you say, bro, it sounded like your response was more so of a proximity thing. Am I correct by saying that? Like those within close proximity of you?
Yeah, pretty much those within close proximity, but I think that we have a close community, and then I think we have an extended family. We got cousins and third cousins, fourth cousins, and great uncles and stuff like this. I think kind of the same things where there's a community that we just kind of part of just by like working along people. Like when we were in the military, we was in the platoon, we just kind of was in that community. You know what I mean? So kind of like an extended community. So yeah, a lot of mine is has to do with proximity, and proximity as in relationships, not necessarily distance on a map.
So I'm glad you said that, Parker. That's exactly where I was going. You said proximity as in relationships. Now, how do you define that within the scope of determining which relationship is, we cool, I speak, right? But I keep you at a distance, or you keep yourself at a distance, really. That's how I like to describe it. Or we have a relationship and now you're closer to me. How do we define that in your words, in your opinion?
The ones that add value and the ones that don't. Like on a simple terms, it's really like that. You know what I mean? At 48, I don't have a bunch of time to be wasting on a bunch of riffraff and he said this and she said that. Like I ain't got time for that. If that's what our relationship is about, if the only time that we talk, we're talking about who said this and who did what, and it's a bunch of negative energy, then those are still people, maybe family or maybe relatives, still maybe part of my community, but they only get a limited amount of time. So I still may have some of these people around in my community and still may spend time with these people, but it's on a very limited scale in comparison to the people that I have in my life who actually add the value. So that's what I think.
I like that. I really do. And I agree with you 100%. Gaddy, I'm going to transition to you because you mentioned like-minded people. And one of the things that you say that we may be on the same journey, but we might be doing different things. And the example that you gave, which I love so much, is that you might be an electrician and I might be a roofer. Now, here's the thing, because I kind of know a little bit about that, right? So here's the thing I want to inject. The electrician and the roofer know exactly when to do their job. In fact, one of them can't do their job without the other. And so everything has to be done. So in essence, it could look like I'm doing the individual thing that's within my skill set, but it also is a thing to where we're working together for the greater good. So when you say like-minded individual, can you kind of define like clean, like not that you left it messy, but I want you to kind of define that a little more. Like, what do you mean when you say like-minded?
So when I'm saying like-minded, right? So that can be broad, that can be narrow scope, but in a broad scope, right? I can say like-minded because I work construction as a roofer or an engineer or an
Mhm.
electrician. Doesn't mean my like-minded group are full of electricians or construction workers, but it's goal-oriented people. I'm a father. I care about my family, and so my like-minded group of men are men who are family-oriented mindset of people. Like what we bring to the table does not cause dysfunction in the other's life. Like when and people can agree or disagree, for whatever reasons, but when people make the statement like, I don't think, you know, married men should have unmarried male friends, right? Whether you agree or disagree, but the purpose some people believe that is because the unmarried friend wants to go out and party, wants to go out and do this, wants to go hang out with the girl. I had a homeboy when I was younger. Every time I saw him, he like, yo, what up, Gaddy? Yo, with a 304s. And I used to be like, you talking about? All right. But that was his mindset as a single dude, you know. And now granted, we was both single, but me being married, if he rolled up to me and say, where they at? And I look back at him like, hey, my wife would be looking at me like they where? So now there's a dysfunction caused on my side because there's and not saying that all single friends will ruin your marriage. So I don't necessarily agree wholeheartedly with that narrative. But the point is our like-mindedness means that we're goal oriented. You get people who are about money. They're around other investors. This one may invest in real estate, and this one may invest in natural resources. But they're goal oriented. They're in investment, and that's what I mean on a narrow and on a broader scope. If I cleaned it up well enough.
Okay, no. You cleaned it up. That was it. No, I greatly appreciate that. I'm agreeing with you. I think everything should be done within reason. But I'm very adamant about defining the scope of my community because at some point you need to understand who, like Uncle Junior said, is adding value. And I think from and I'm still trust me, be patient with me. I'm still writing this book on boundaries. But as boundaries exist, right, people will either be within alignment or they will not. That's it. It's not that you make them do it or anything of that nature. Like their behavior will tell you what they're doing and what they're working on. And that's okay. I still love them in whatever scope that they choose to do within their life. But then by that same token, those other people will actually show up running the race that is parallel to the race that you're running. And I think what we can see is that, hey, we can collaborate together, we can work together, we can build together, right? It doesn't take away from what you're doing. It's just that whatever I'm doing and what you're doing, they're actually feeding into one another. I think the same thing applies to all types of relationship. I'm with you with the proximity piece, but even within proximity, behavior will decide how close or how far you are from me. That includes family members as well. I'm sorry. I got some family members that say I don't talk to him at all. Right? It's not because I dislike him. It's not even because I don't love him. I love them dearly. But their behavior say, hey, I need some space from you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because one thing I will not do is I will not compromise, the thing that I agree to. And that thing that I agree to, those people who are in close proximity to me, those people who are in my community, those people who are the family within the family, those people hold me accountable for that thing. So they know the agreement that I made. They know what my life is all about. And those would be the ones that be like using Gaddy example, like, hey man, you better not respond. Don't do it. Don't do it. You see what I'm saying? That's what family, that's what community is all about. But the it's not just assisting each other on sticking to the thing that we agreed to. It is also empowering one another, more so empowering than anything. Because if we're doing this thing right, there's not a whole lot of guardrails that I need because I have boundaries. So with that being said, it's more so of empowering one another. How can I help? What can I do to help you get here? So forth and so on. And to me, that's what defines community. And again, I don't have to make a person do anything. You shouldn't have to make anybody do anything. Periodically you may have to ask a question, but it's only you're asking a question, not necessarily for them to give you a definitive answer, even though an answer is needed, right? But it's more so to kind of jog their memory. Say, hey, you might be falling back into something that you used to do before you made that agreement in your life, right? So I'm asking you this question more so for you than it is for me. So I think that's what community is. Community is an environment to where we uplift one another, we edify and uplift one another, right? And so within the scope of edification and uplifting, what ends up happening is that we build and we continue to build, and then it becomes infectious, and then other people want to join, and then as more people join, we bring them in as though they've been a part the whole time, because they still got to feel the community out. They got to go through the stages of team development. They got to go through the forming, storming, norming, and performance stages of, norming and performance stages of team development, so that they can find where they fit in, so that they can add value. And the people who are part of the community, who have been a part of the community for a long time, you welcome them in with open arms and you make their transitions easy. Really sounds like a job, doesn't it? Like a supervisor or a leader on the job, because that's really what they do when it comes down to their organization as well. And that's how we get to the point to where people that we work with, they can actually be a part of our communities as well, because they realize that, hey, you got there's something about you I think I want to stay connected to. So that's just my takes on it. And gentlemen, I love your perspectives as it pertains. Any other things you want to add before I kind of dive into the chat and grab some of the statements that are made over there? Nope. All right. Very well. Let me see. Let's start with, okay, there we go. I believe it means taking the good with everything else that comes with family, the ebbs and flow of community. Yeah, I think that's true. I do believe that there are disagreements that happen within it, but I think that disagreements can be good, because at the end of the day, that's where growth can be found. A lot of times we got to realize that disagreements happen because of some type of selfishness on both parties, right? Everybody want their perspective to be right, not necessarily seeking for understanding. But if we can change our perspectives to focusing on understanding as opposed to the desire to be right, then the ebbs and flow won't be that long. We spend more time in the ups than we do in the downs. So thank you for that. Community and family is a group of people that encourage and chastise me in the areas that I need. Absolutely, I agree. Let's see. Yeah, let's do like two more. Community to me is a group of people from all circles of life coming together to strengthen others to achieve the goal of success. Absolutely. And remember, success look different to different people. So my metric of success may not necessarily be Garfield's metric of success, and Garfield's may not necessarily be Gaddis. So at the end of the day, it's important that we articulate what that looks like. A lot of times, within the community, you have those people who just live life day by day and just take it as it is. And sometimes, it's important for us to say, hey, man, like, what do you want to do? Like, what's important to you? Is, what I'm saying? And that way now I can see where I can fit in and where I can help. So I think that's important. Community are individuals of relation or non-relation that have a commonality. However, they can have different perspectives while sharing differences with affection and care. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. All great points. And I appreciate you guys sharing that. So that being said, we're going to kind of dive into the first section. And the first section is all about community responsibility and accountability. One of my favorite sections, by the way, just so that you guys know. Okay. So the first question I want to ask everybody: how would you articulate the difference between community responsibility and community accountability? The difference between responsibility and accountability in the community. But Gaddy, I think you can go first. I think Garfield went first the last time.
Yeah, he did. Man, I was hoping he sparked. So not that I don't know what I want to say, is how I want to. So responsibility and accountability can be intertwined, right? Depending on where we're at in the conversation, right? Now, when I'm talking about what my responsibilities are and being accountable in it, in the community, is not, to me, it don't always have to be two different things, but it's two different things. Like, my responsibility can be the role that I play, right? If my role in this community is, I'm that guy. Matter of fact, I got a perfect example. When we get on Sundays, we know that one person got a responsibility in the group on TikTok, and that's the voice of reasons. If you come on Sundays, you know who we're talking about. And her responsibility is to make sure it stays in the word every time. But the accountability piece is actually showing up. That's the accountability, right? The accountability piece is being that person, uh, or feeding that person that you are. If the person I am is the person to bring everything back to the scripture, then I got to know scripture. I have to be in, because I have to have something to give so that I can meet the responsibility. Uh, and and that's how I view it. I know I scoped it down to 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 Miss Voice of Reason, but that's how I view the whole scope of accountability and responsibility.
All right, well, I'm gonna give it a stab. I think I got the responsibility part, and I think I might be still stuck on the accountability piece. But as I talk it out, it may come to me. So when I looked at the difference between the community, when I look at community responsibility, I look at what I do or how I add value to the community. What is my role or what is my responsibility in the community? So, for example, I'm just going to use us three here as three members of the Wolf Pack, right? So, as our community is the Wolf Pack community, empowering perspective community. So, with that being said, what is my responsibility to the community? It could be, for right now, it is whatever coach, since this is his platform, is what he started. It is his vision. It's whatever he has deemed me responsible for. That is my responsibilities. Whatever it is that he sees in the vision, he says, okay, um, this is your responsibility. So I look at responsibility being as your piece of the pie and what you do to add value to the overall community. I'm still working on the accountability piece, but I think that has something to do with me and my performance and how I am as a person. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking at. Am I a bad example to the community? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. I may be a little off. I haven't fully thought it out, but I think I understand the responsibility piece.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're off at all. I kind of, you know how we like to do. We like to take things back to the army. All three of
Yeah.
us had to make accountability formations, right? Now, here's the deal. There was some responsibility for me that I had to take in order to ensure that I was in accountability formation. I had to get out of
Mm-hmm.
bed. I had to make sure I was in the right uniform. I had to make sure that I was there a certain amount of time prior so that those people who needed to lay eyes on me seen me. That was my responsibility. The accountability piece was to the organization because they had to send people like Gaddy the purse stat. Gaddy had to have the purse stat by a certain time every morning. So accountability formation took place at this time. So by this time, they can meet their deadline. So I liken it to, um, yeah, you need a mention, bro. I liken it to the idea of first and foremost, the community responsibility is what I actually do in the community, right? What I actually do for the community. Like if I'm the dude that cleans the church ground, then my responsibility is to make sure that I'm cutting the grass and doing all those things. I'm keeping the church ground. I'm managing the church grounds. That's my responsibility. However, the accountability piece is to the church and the people of the church. So everybody that goes to the church benefit off of the work that I actually do. So responsibility leads to accountability. In my personal life, I have to take responsibility for what I've been charged to do. I can't expect somebody to come in and swoop in and rescue me based upon the mess that I made. It's my job to clean up my own mess. Now, when my brothers come in at, they hold me accountable. Hey man, listen, you said you was gonna do this. You said you was gonna write that book. We've been talking about that book now for a couple of weeks, couple of months, really, to be honest with you. Where you at? What chapter you want? You know what I'm saying? If you don't mind, I want to see your rough draft. You see what I'm saying? That's what accountability is all about because accountability leads to a larger picture, right? Responsibility is all the things that we do within the scope. So it's can include a number of things. It could literally include like having community meetings, things of that nature. Like who's responsible for heading up the meeting, who's responsible for planning it. So those are individual responsibilities. Who benefits? The community overall. It could be finding single parents and going and say, hey, I understand that you're a single mom. How can I help? Make sure that your wife tracking now. Don't be trying to sneak over there and I'm gonna go check on Sister Johnson. No, bro. Y'all go check on Sister Johnson. You and her go check on Sister Johnson, right? And so while your wife is talking to Sister Johnson, you are there with your wife and say, hey, how can I help? Like, do you want me to come and pick the boy up, like your son, right? And so they can come and play with my sons. Like now what we're doing is we're living that we're extending the olive branch so that the other people who are part of the community, they can feel like they're part of a well-rounded community that's not just focused on their own selfish needs, but they're focused on helping everybody within the community. And I think that's an important piece there. Any other thoughts? Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, more thoughts. And this kind of goes back to who determines. All right, so in the community, who determines what my responsibility is? You know what I mean, in the community? Because like I mentioned earlier, some people like to automatically assume that, hey, because you are X, Y, and Z, you are part of this community and you should be doing this for your community. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna call it, I'm gonna call it like it is. A lot of times in the Black community, they will say, well, Unc, you are a Black man and it is your responsibility to do X, Y, and Z for your community. And I'm just like, well, hold up. Who said that I was part of that community? You know what I mean? You don't get to dictate to me what community I decide to be a part of. Now, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I get to determine which community I decide to be a part of. But, how does that work when it comes down to, what my responsibility is in the community that other people may make me a part of?
That's actually a really good question, because for me, so I think like with us, I think we've organically built like a small community, a band of brothers, right? Between the five of us that gets on. Is it five of us? Yeah, I think it's five of us. And the reality is, nature organically assigned the roles in this community. Roland is the petty one with the props, or the funny one with the props. Uh, Coach is the very sensible minded one, the one that keeps us together, keep us flowing. And this is his podcast, right? Chris is the passionate one, right? I I think I'm just the young one, to be honest with you. But it's like I think when we try to
What about
force
me? You ain't gonna
things,
leave me out? I
I
don't
mean,
know what
my
I'm like.
bad,
I don't know what I'm
my
is.
bad,
You're the
my
consistent
bad.
one. You're the
You the
consistent one.
I'm about to say you the
There you
consistent
go.
brother. That's the best brother in the room, the one that's always consistent, man. Um, my bad. I didn't mean to leave y'all, but we have organically, I think, bonded together, and we play our role, right? I think it can get rough if coach was like, all right, so I need you to really present this type of stuff when we have these and now is it organic? You know, is it really where I fit, or is it what someone think that we need for the community? And I think a lot of times people inside of a community believe that they have the answer on what we need. So the next person that comes in this community, you're going to do that. But if he don't fit that mold, he or she don't fit that mold, then why are we forcing something? Let's get to That's why relationship building to me is the first part of building a community. I know you. As I get to know you, I understand the value you bring. And sometimes it's the thing that you just do naturally. And so that's who you are. You the unk that we bring the kids to hang around, because we know you're gonna keep. Hey, y'all go play outside. I don't even know your real name. That's the bad thing about it. Uh,
But it's like people, you know how many times people have told me, hey, you know, you're a black man, and what you should be doing is you should be mentoring kids. Like, I don't know how many times I have heard that, right? Now, to keep it real, I'm an elementary school counselor. So for a lot of the people who are talking about giving back, ain't always giving back. I'm doing it every day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving back to my community every single day. I'm trying to impart and trying to help and support. But the thing about it is that, you know, who are they to say what I should be doing? You know what I mean? Just because I look the part don't mean that I'm the right person that should be mentoring kids. You know what I mean? So I think we got to be careful about automatically just putting everybody into a box and saying that, hey, because you look like you're a part of this community, that you should be giving back. Everybody don't need to be giving back, and that's just facts. Some people don't got nothing to give back, and that's not being mean or just it is what it is. But I think that we in our community, we need to be a lot more careful, and that a lot more maybe put a little bit more thought into exactly who we actually want imparting and being responsible for certain things inside of the community, because everybody don't need to be mentoring kids just because they look a certain way.
and I think that was, to me, that's one of the points for me. I think we always mess up because we need mentors. Every man in our community, we want to put that on their shoulder. You
On
know,
every man.
yeah, and we put that weight on them. You know, and unfortunately, things happen when you put the wrong people around your kids. You know, and it's not always the worst thing you could think of, but it can be, right? And so because of that, because I'm making every man feel like he needs to be there, you know, then when do we cipher out who the one who actually has the passion for it, who actually is a good role model, who actually don't have bad intentions?
Mm.
Yeah,
This is
and
this is.
that's
I'm sorry.
no,
This is
my
what,
bad.
you know. You good. This is why I like that question. Because at the end of the day, this is what I really do believe. And Gad, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, Coach, if Coach start assigning people work and things of that nature, it'll be a little uncomfortable. I absolutely agree with that. I think for the most part, what should happen is that you should be a willing participant in the community. Like, this is why I talk about, like, you be a part of the community. Don't be a fly on the wall. Like, how can I help? Like, I keep going back to New Amsterdam because I think that's the best approach that we can all take. Like, how can I help? It's the same thing within the scope of relationship, husband and wife relationship, right? You don't go in there and dictate to your wife what to do. The wife don't go in there and dictate to the husband what to do. No, you actually do the things that you do based upon the skills and values and all of that stuff that you bring to the relationship, and you do it without necessarily being instructed to do it. And I think that's the difference. So whatever you bring to the community, allow that gift within you to be for the community. After all, that's why you got the gift. I think it is a mark of self-centeredness when we say, hey, I'm going to keep it to myself, and then I'm just going to sit back and let y'all do the work, and I'm just going to receive the benefit from it because I'm in the community, right? So that self-centered behavior in most cases really is really revealing, if you will. But at the end of the day, you know, do you kick them out the community or whatever the case may be? Because, you know, y'all ain't out here picking up trash with everybody else. Y'all sitting in the house watching TV, getting fat, dumb, and happy, getting your Instacart groceries delivered, and we got a whole community project going on here. So what's happening? What's going on? So I think that exists a lot of time, and a lot of that happens because they themselves. It's not that the community didn't offer them buy-in. Now, trust me, I do understand that in some organizations that happen, right? But it's not that buy-in wasn't available. They just didn't exercise their version of responsibility as it pertained to buy-in. Relationship is a symbiotic deal. It's not just me extending the olive branch to you. You have to accept it as well. And I think that's the other piece. So whatever your gift is, bring that to the table. I don't have to instruct you to be a mentor of children. You probably don't even like kids. You see what I'm saying? So that's the other side to it. Like, you may not, and I'm being serious. Like, I'm going to the extreme with not liking kids, but let's be honest. Everybody don't have the patience to work with kids. Everybody don't have the patience to work with adults. So at the end of the day, we really got to understand what it is we're asking to do. It may look, yeah, the brother may dress good. The brother may be very articulate. The brother may drive good. But at the end of the day, you don't know if he was called to children. And so I think if you allow the person to allow their gifts to shine within the community, not only will they be better fitted for the community, but those people that they're called to in the community, all of them will benefit from it. So I really like that question, bro. Thank you for that. Looks like we got another question up there from Lisa Keys. There we go. Does a community have or issue roles within it? Yeah, I think I just answered that. So I think if we issue roles, it'll be disingenuous, right? But if we allow our gifts to select the roles that we take on, because let's be honest, some of us, whoever is heading the community, they may not have even thought about the thing that you bring to the table. Then you can suggest that and say, hey, I can do this. You'll be like, okay, cool, do that. Let's see how that works out, right? And then it's not a shot. It's like, let's welcome that to the table because that may be exactly what we need. So great questions all around, and I appreciate you guys. Okay. How can a community establish a culture of accountability that encourages personal growth without fostering a sense of judgment or, the most important part to me, competition?
I think. Oh, my bad. I went first last time. You. My bad. I'm being petty.
So I guess Roland did show up today. He's still he here in spirit. He here in spirit. He took over. Man, it take me a second to digest the question. I will say this, and I always like to go with I'm a big example person, right? I'm a firm believer in following good examples and being good examples. You guys have on many occasions talked about the good book, you know what I mean, and about who a lot of that book was about and how that example, you know what I'm saying. So it's like that. Like if you want to establish a culture of accountability that encourages personal growth, then the people in the community need to be examples. Like we was talking about all these different roles that everybody was doing within the community, right? So if your role is to do A and B, then do your role good. You know what I mean? Be a man of dignity, of standing, or whatever, or woman, or whoever may be part of that community. Do your part and be good at doing your part. Like you don't have to do it for everybody. You don't have to do everything. But I think for me, at the end of the day, man, just be the example. I mean, being an example can go so far. I think we learn a lot more from the examples and how people behave more so than the words that come out of their face. And that's another whole conversation for another whole day. So I ain't even going to go there.
I think I think Coach kind of hit it ending out the last point, really. When you allow people to just feel the need, where they are led to feel the need, right? There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we need mentors in our community. And so, people will soul search, I believe, and really look and see if that's something that they can be. Even if I'm not the best, can I at least be one until the right one show up? Can I at least be present, be a male figure in a community where we lack male figures, just until the right mentor show up? I think that's okay. And even in doing that, I might grow there, and I might actually be a better mentor than I think I am, and I might actually grow there. And I think that personal growth goes there, because when you take on responsibility and you recognize accountability. So since we're talking about when you recognize uh, your accountability, you tend to grow there. But then when you say how can we establish that culture, I think what we have to do in our community, we have to stop minimizing people because of their role in the community. You know, when I was growing up, and this may not be the best example, but when I was growing up, the dude on the corner with the 40, the old man over there drinking and playing dominoes on the corner, he was a vital part of the community. All the kids knew you could not go down the block and act up because Mr. Johnson was going to snatch you up drunk or not and drag you right back down the block to your parents. Like he had a role. And what we have done, we've minimized his role. Now, maybe we don't want him drinking, but him sitting on that stoop kept us out of a lot of trouble. And so I think when we begin to minimize others and not actually, let's lift up everyone. Let's lift up every role that someone is playing or filling. Let's show them that we value their availability and their consistency in what they do. And I think people will grow. They will want to grow. They will want to be better. They will want to be present. They will want to do what they do for the community even more than they did when they volunteered. That's how I look at it. But I think the judgment and competition comes up sometimes because we create this culture that one is bigger than the other. If you're in a small Texas town, the football coach may be God, but the guy down the street that run the butcher shop, he just old Bob. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so now you make old Bob feel like his meat ain't as good as a pigskin because the coach is lifted up here. But let's lift them both up. They both valuable to our community. That's how I look.
I got a quick alibi. How can the community establish a culture of accountability that encourages personal growth? Encourage personal growth. I think sometimes just by speaking certain things, you know what I mean, you can help, because someone may not ever heard anything about personal growth, inside of the community. So you just saying, hey, have you ever thought about personal growth, or where are you with your personal growth journey, or what are some things that you're working on in your life right now that you know what I mean, maybe I can learn something from. So I think just having conversations about personal growth will help encourage personal growth, because I'm just being honest. I don't remember getting a bunch of personal growth conversations growing up. I just don't. Maybe my parents sat down and talked to me with them. I mean, when we're little, we taught certain things about personal growth, but on an adult level, man, and navigating and weaving through life and relationships and kids and jobs and finances and stuff too, it's a lot different because on this side, you got to make personal growth a choice. Like, it's something that you have to consistently work on. You know what I mean? So I just think just bringing it into the community, having conversations and talking about it, personal growth will also help encourage personal growth.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you focused on that as well, because that's where I was going to go eventually. I think a lot of people hit it in the chat. I like and it kind of lines up what you said earlier about just, leading by example, right? One of the basic things that they taught us in the Army, lead by example, let your behavior be the thing. So it's not just the idea of wanting to help others. I have to first show that the thing is happening in me first. So I think it's John 1:14. It says that, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us. So if your word that you speak on a day-to-day basis is not observed in the flesh that you show on a day-to-day basis, then people are going to look at you and think that you're unauthentic. And therefore, you won't be able to lead yourself or anyone else out of a brown paper bag. So first and foremost, the first person that you need to lead is yourself. Because once people identify that your lip service don't line up with your service, then they don't believe that you believe what you say you believe. So that's first and foremost. We have to be the thing that we say. Okay. When we do that, then we start showing other people how to do that. We start talking to other people about doing it, not from the standpoint of judging them, but from the standpoint of helping them. That's the key. It is a thing in which we partner along. Once we get enough people who really care about someone else's journey, right? Care about someone else's growth pattern. And here's the other part. I'm gonna go out on a limb when I say this, but I think I'm safe by saying it because if you really understand what I'm about to say, it makes sense. You cannot say, I believe on one hand in what the Bible teaches, and then on the other hand say, I don't want to grow. Those two things can't be true at the same time. It is virtually impossible. So at the end of the day, for those of us who believe in the word of God, who believe in God himself, growth is an automatic part of your life. You just hadn't figured that part out yet. For those of you who are looking at the camera sideways right now, or looking at the screen sideways. So again, in order for the word that I speak, in order for that word to become flesh, then I have to get to the point to where the things that I speak are actually mirrored in the things that I do. Now, don't get me wrong. Does that mean I still make mistakes? Absolutely. Does that mean you make mistakes? Absolutely. But what we do not do is tar and feather you because you made a mistake. That's the difference. That's where the judgment doesn't come in at. The competition piece to me, which is the most asinine thing I've ever seen, to where we claim to be in a community, but with that being said, it's in the community. I am competing against Garfield. I'm competing against Gaddy. For what? I'm supposed to be helping Garfield. I'm supposed to be helping Gaddy, and vice versa. So the competition thing is something that I've seen so much in our community, and we really need to stop, because at the end of the day, there's enough resources for everybody, but we live in the space of a scarcity mindset to where scarcity really believes that there's limited resources and limited time. Therefore, I need to get what I need to get right now, and I'll step on any and everybody to get there. That is a fallacy. And at the end of the day, if that's how you think, stop it. I'm telling you right now, stop doing that. Like, you're really doing yourself a great injustice just by virtue of having a scarcity mindset, because you are repelling the stuff that you're supposed to be getting. So that's just it. And oh yeah, by the way, if you're repelling what you're supposed to be getting, you can't even help nobody. So at the end of the day, the competition thing is really counterintuitive to itself. So I just kind of want to put that out there. But you guys are absolutely spot on. It is a lead by example thing. It is a thing to where I must do it within me so that what's within me can come out of me and help somebody else. That becomes of ultimate important to me. Did we have a question or did I miss it? I thought I saw something that you had. Okay. How do the community usher someone into a place of accountability if this is new to them and have not been held accountable before? Good question. I like that one.
I think you gotta, and I'm speaking as men, right? You gotta be a brother, right? Especially if there's a group, right? So, and I'm telling you, some men might push back, but if I find me a group like these, if I just came into this circle, and it was a day when I first came into the circle, right? And these brothers already have their groove, they already have their relationships, they already have their bonds, and I'm coming in trying to find where I align, right? Being a brother is saying, hey, this ain't flying with what we doing. This ain't how we move. This ain't how what we do over here. You know, a good brother is gonna feel that energy and understand. And now, by habit of being, because right now I might not have found my responsibility in this circle, in this community yet. I'm just trying to be present. What happened is organically by having brothers who are keeping you accountable while still being a good brother. I think sometimes we get to a place where we're so busy holding people accountable, we forget how to be relational. And you can't be a drill sergeant to everybody you see. Oh, we don't do this. Oh, don't do that. You gotta act like, some folk went through that when they got in church. It was all it, instead of becoming relational, so you can help teach them and grow them and show them the way. Some people became their drill sergeant. They wanted someone to tell what to do, and you deter people from that. So I think just being a good brother or good sister, and keeping them accountable, showing them how we do it here in this community will help them grow.
who is you and why do you feel like you need to be holding somebody accountable? Like, I listen to social media stuff all the time. People always talk about hold somebody accountable. Why do you need to hold somebody accountable? What is your job? What is your responsibility or your relationship to this person? Why you feel like you got to hold somebody accountable? So I'm just going to throw that out there initially. All right. Not to be offensive to anybody. That is not what I'm coming from. It's Friday night and I'm on my laptop and not my computer. So I'm going to be in a good mood regardless. You know what I'm saying? But according to this question, just being real, I think first of all, it comes down to the community. So I'm going to assume that in this community, everybody wants to be part of this community, you know, but this person that's coming in may just not have never been been held accountable for. So that may be hard for them. So I think I wrote down two things, and they were grace and communication, right? If we feel like all three of us in here, all five of us in this community can add value, whatever, to the community, and someone has never been held accountable for anything before, then I think that for a certain amount of time, I don't know what amount of time that is, I think that we got to give that person some grace, because a lot of the stuff that they may be getting may be new, it may be brand new to them. And then I also think that we need to have effective communication. If Gaddy comes on here and you know it's five of us on here and he ain't acting right, but he ain't never been held accountable for nothing, because in New York they do what they want to do, son. You know what I'm saying? But had to throw a little shout out there. But you know, for anybody, if they've never been accountable for anything, and we all feel like that this person can add value to our wolf pack or to our community, then I think we have to extend a certain level of grace. And then I think that we have to be very good with our communication when we speak to them, because we want that person to grow. You know what I mean? That's where the personal development in the community comes from as well.
You know what, man? I'm loving it. I'm fisting. That's a word, FISNA. I'm fisting to play advocate. I miss.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
IMISS. I miss. You mentioned grace, and Daddy, you mentioned something else. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But in essence, it involved grace. Like you mentioned the drill sergeant piece, right? Kind of like the notion of kind of like what a lot of people experienced in church. I will start off answering this question with a question. Does not accountability indicate relationship? Because this is the thing. I am not accountable to anyone that I'm not in a relationship with. So if that's the case, under the umbrella of grace is a whole bunch of instructions. And at the end of the day, if you cannot receive instructions under grace, then you're going to receive instructions outside of grace. And those instructions outside of grace is going to be a whole lot more harder and rougher than the instructions inside of grace. So if you can't receive instructions in grace, which by virtue is laced in love, right? Even if it don't feel good, it can be good, right? It's just based upon, in most cases, your perception of what it is you're receiving. Maybe you were a child that never got chastised growing up. So now when somebody tells you a thing, it automatically feels to me like you're judging me. And if you're judging me, but man, so good. Thank you. So you know what? You are so good. You know who I'm talking to. If you are judging me, now my perception of you is different, because I think that you're talking about me as a person and not necessarily the thing that I actually did. So in essence, when it comes down to it, my perception of judgment, even though the judgment is actually right, because it is addressing the thing that I did, it's not addressing the character, even though the thing that I did came from my character, but I'm addressing the thing that you did. So if you can't receive correction, that actually speaks more to you than it does to the person who is giving the correction. Now, the correction can't be laced in malice. I want to say it. It can't be laced in malice. It can't have a whole bunch of adjectives, adverbs, and superlatives. That would be drill sergeant-esque, right? It's laced in a bunch of adjectives, adverbs, and superlatives. And part of them has a title that is tied to you, right? Use such and such and such, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, we should be able to give correction within the community, right? We should be able to extend a conversation, using effective communication to hold people accountable for the thing that they said they were going to do. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just like being in a relationship with somebody. I didn't get in a relationship to babysit no grown kid. I'm sorry. If that's what you're doing, then our relationship is going to be short-lived. Now, the other side of that as well, because again, we talked about accountability, right? Some people don't know what they need to do. Do something. I'm just saying, do something. We out here digging. We out here filling sandbags because a hurricane coming. You in the house looking at us. Your job ain't to observe us and supervise us. Not when you just got here. You need to come in here and grab a shovel. Get the digging. Do something. I think that's where a lot of us fall victim, right? Because we don't want to do anything. And then we hide behind the notion of, I don't know what to do. Well, what have you done? It's the same thing that you have in life. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want out of life? I don't know. Well, what are you doing? Nothing. That's why, because you don't know. So you got to try something to determine whether or not you're good at anything. If you don't try anything, you're not going to be good at anything. Let's just call a spade a spade. So eventually you try something and say, hey, I really like doing that. And come to find out I'm actually good at that. Great. Do more of it. Do it at a deeper level. Do it at a level of mastery. Why? Because that thing that you're doing now gets to the point to where, hey, we can do it here for everybody else. So if you're I don't know, we kind of talked about a number of different things here, but if you're a counselor, Godfrey, I'm gonna talk about you, bro. I'm sorry. Right. Your profession transitions greatly. If you're a counselor, then can you counsel, little Timmy in the community who has issues coping with his father leaving? Sure, you can, right? Do you need the charger? That's for you to determine. I'm not going to get into that, right? But you can do it. You can do it pro bono, right? Or you can charge them. It's part of what you do. So I think that's the thing. I think too many times what we do is we kind of, on one side, we'll talk about responsibility as adults. You should be able to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But then we'll talk about accountability as kids. Well, you can't tell me anything. This is my life to live. Wait, how does that work? So I can be responsible and I can exercise responsibility. But then we talk about relationship. And so if you don't be responsible, then I can't talk to you about being responsible. That doesn't add up. That's not a relationship at all. That is a disjointed connection. It is an unbalanced relationship. That's really what it is. So one person will reap all the benefits of the doing of another person, and then this person's just going to keep doing and keep doing and keep doing and keep doing, and this person's just going to keep taking and keep taking and keep taking, and then they're going to get to the point to where you're going to realize that, hey, this person is entitled because that's all they're doing. If you paid attention to what I said, it really sounded familiar because that's what a lot of people believe relationships are today. The man is supposed to do, the woman just received, or the woman is supposed to do, the man just received. No. We both do and we both receive, and we do it joyfully as unto the Lord. There's the answer. So at the end of the day, if I'm not doing anything, I am actually violating commandments. So what you get? So it all goes back to the same. It just keeps coming around full circle. Full circle. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Christ loved the church. Wives, submit to your own husbands. So it's all keeps coming back around to the same thing. And if we miss that, then what we'll do is we'll conflate what the word says with what the world says and say, hey, on this conversation, what the world said is right. Hey, on this conversation, what the word said is right. No, the word has to always be right. We don't get to turn it on and turn it off when we get ready to. So that's me playing advocate. Any thoughts, comments, responses, rebuttals?
I said I was going to hold my tongue, but since you opened the door back up, because the fact that the word judgment has become like a cuss word in a sense, it irks my nerve. Because we read a whole passage of Matthew 7, and we only focus on a couple of words in a verse. Judge not that ye be not judged. Oh, if you judge me, you're going to be judged. Don't you judge me. Only God can judge me. Not lies. No, you're not that even we will judge the angels. I'm sorry. But we have to, when he says, judge not that ye be not judged, for what measure ye judge, ye shall be judged also. Ye shall meet also. All right. Take first take the mote out of thine own eyes, then you can see clear enough to take the beam out of your brother's eye. Like the whole conversation is about it's not about not judging, because without judgment there's no accountability. And I know we like to change the word and make softer, more gentle words for the word judgment, right? But there could be no accountability if I never judge a matter that is wrong. If no one ever calls it out, right? You're not condemning them to hell right now. You just, this needs to be cleaned up, or the community is going to go left. Fathers, we need you back in the home, or the community is going to die. That is judgment, but it's true. But guess what? The problem we see with these arguments is that men are shooting shots at women, what they need to fix, but the mote is still in their eyes. Women throwing shots at men that they need to fix, but the mote is still in their eyes. And so no one's looking at themselves to fix, because I'm looking at you shoot a shot with a mote in your eye. So I'm not worried about me, because to me, I look better than you. And so there's no accountability without judgment. Let's take the lie out of it that judgment is a sin and only God can judge me. Say that for somebody else. If you are of the righteousness of the Most High, you will even judge angels. All right, that's scripture. So we can't go from that to saying we can't judge a matter. But let's be right. Let's be accountable in our own thing first. And then, because I think Coach brought it up when brought it up. You're a coach too. That's why I be messing it up. Consistency club. Well, that's why Unc brought up earlier when he talked about leading by example. Because when I come into this community and y'all are already accountable for your thing, it will make me strive to be more accountable, because I see it. But that's it. I'm off my tangent.
I had something to say, but I think I got triggered by something you said, Coach. Low key, but I'm gonna save it for my final thoughts. So y'all better stay tuned.
I love it. I didn't intentionally trigger you, bro.
No, you didn't, and I wasn't really triggered, but it was definitely something that you said that made me bring out a point that I was sharing in my final thought. If we do final thought,
we're gonna do final thoughts. Looking forward to it. Just to kind of touch on that question, right? How do we judge a thing and not the individual? So real quick, if we do not tie the behavior to the person, right? So therefore, in order to judge a thing and not judge a person, we have to separate the behavior from the being. Talk about the behavior, not necessarily talk about the person. It's kind of like when I mentioned earlier, adjectives, adverbs, and superlatives, which were tied to the person. That's what the army used to be for me, right? So we separate the behavior. We talk about the behavior, not necessarily the person. If that person chooses to take offense, they did it because they wanted to, because you're talking specifically about the behavior.
You mean when they take offense?
When they take offense, yeah. When they take offense. Okay, let's jump down to diversity, because I think we kind of talked about mentorship already. So the next section is going to be diversity within the community setting. So with and Lisa Keys, please let me know whether or not we answered your question or you had a follow-on question as well. So diversity within the community setting. The first question I have under here is, how does diversity within a community enhance the personal growth journey of its members? Then I forgot who going first.
Man, I was supposed to go first, but I ain't gonna throw nobody under the bus. That wasn't the question that I was prepared for.
Hey, soon as he said we was moving past mentorship, I started laughing hard inside, man.
I was ready. I had my other question. I was prepped. I was ready. I think I had a good one too. But
you got this, man. You want me to go first? You want me to go first? You sure? Okay.
Now, all right. So I'm going to say like this, and I'm going to speak on the word diversity. So a lot of times when this word diversity is used, a lot of times we're talking about skin complexion or race or culture. To be honest, in many cases, they don't have anything to do with the community. You know, it can. Well, I ain't gonna say in many cases it don't, but in that's not always a factor. Race, color, religion is not always a factor in what encompasses a community. So, but I will say this: I'm going to now. So for this part, I'm going to speak on. It is still a personal community, but it's a somewhat broader community. And I'm just going to speak from the military community as being in the military. Now, I understand that some people who are watching this may not have been in the military. That is fine. That's okay. But look at it as like it's your job or your corporation or like in a warehouse or something like that, right? So in the military, we have different roles, we have different responsibilities. But one thing about the military is that if you look at all three of us right here, Coach is from one state, I'm from another state, Gaddy is from another state, Chris is from a different state, and I think Roland is from a different state. So all five of us are connected via the military or through someone in the military. And because we were in the military, we have a diverse community. We all come from different backgrounds, different states. So even though we may look the same on the outward by all of us being Black, our upbringing, our roots, our thoughts and what we bring to the community is totally different. So I think when you have a diverse community, you get to learn from more people. So because I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, I get to learn from Gaddy certain things about New York. You know what I mean? Coaches from Georgia. You from Georgia, right? Yeah, coaches from Georgia. So I get to learn how they do things in Georgia. They don't put sugar on their grits in Georgia. All right. So, and then I get to learn from people like Roland in Mississippi, who, when they first speak, they say, "What up, doe?" And then I get to learn from Chris. So I think what you get is you get more information, you get more different things that you can add to yourself through, in your own personal journey. Like I said, if we're just speaking about the five gentlemen who are on this show, like, I mean, we learn stuff from each other every week. And then, as I said in the beginning of the show, when it comes to the chat, a lot of y'all are from different places. So if you look at the Empowering Perspective community, like, we're all are learning from each other. So we all get to enhance our personal growth. I think that's it.
I think it's to me, it's in the question itself, diversity itself. I think when we try to box off or make exclusive those who can be in your community. Now, there might be some things that are not accepted in my circle, in my community, in what I call my family, right? There's some things I don't associate with. That's fine. But diversity, as in, like, I'm on the panel right now with two coaches. All right, consistency mindset coach. If they said, if you ain't a coach, you can't be on this podcast, well, then they wouldn't have that New York greatness gracing the panel. I'm joking, but
That's a true statement.
Touche. But what it would be is probably like if you say, well, we all learn from the same guy. We went to the same school, so everybody that gets on here has to go. Then you're just gonna be sharing around the same thought. There'd be no true opposing opinion, and I think opposing opinion causes growth because I believe in searching out a matter before I argue it. Now, granted, I might argue a matter that maybe I've searched out already, so when you brought it up, that's cool. But if all I have is a bunch of people who share my opinion all the time around me, there will be no diversity, meaning there will be no growth. we will be stuck just continuing to circulate the same information. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have to have people with a different background sometimes, a different way of thinking. You got to have Virginia with the New York. You got to have the Georgia with the Detroit. You know, you said the brother was from Mississippi. I just had to put that out there.
Say Mississippi.
He from Mississippi. He just don't know it.
Who, Roland?
Oh, you don't know it?
No. Well, he did say he's from down there somewhere, but then his people moved up to Michigan. But I think he might have been born in Michigan, though. I don't know.
Yeah. He got some sip in his blood.
But low key, that's how all of this got started, kind of sort of through somebody from Mississippi.
Ish. So let me say this. First and foremost, shout out to Dan Scuba Fox. Good to see you, brother. And I always appreciate the value that you add. I appreciate two things that I heard so far. I appreciate that we did not take the word diversity and make it about skin color. Thank you. That's for starters. Secondly, I am so relieved that somebody said that you don't put no sugar in no grits. I'm just saying. It is a known
in
fact.
Georgia. Georgia.
It is the 13th commandment. No, I'm joking. Okay. Listen.
I think somebody else agree with that.
Absolutely. Everybody. The common sense. No, I'm joking. So I'm joking, bro. I'm joking. So as it pertains to diversity, let's look at the different skill sets that we bring to the community. Let's look at the different degrees of learning that can take place in the community. Let's look at the different areas of help that takes place in the community. And I think when we take that and use that as an idea or a concept of diversity, right, then we can see how diversity can enhance personal growth. Why? Why? Because at the end of the day, yeah, there goes somebody else who will be defiling grits. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, there are other people who are looking to learn from the things that you know. There are other people who are desiring to learn from you because of your personality. There are other people who are looking to learn from you because you have shown yourself to be a person to where your words have become your flesh. So that's the idea. When you see diversity in skill set, diversity in thought processes, perspective, you have diversity in the ways that we do different things, then what we'll find is that we do not isolate a person to one discipline of thinking. We do not isolate people to one notion of doing a thing or being a thing or whatever the case may be. Under the umbrella, we all have the ability to be the best versions of ourselves. And unfortunately, our backgrounds are not similar. Well, I'm sorry. Fortunately, our backgrounds are not similar. And if our backgrounds are not similar, then there's a number of different intelligences that we can bring to the community here and now. So that's my response, and I greatly appreciate that. Looks like we got another question. Come on with it. All right. How can we as men and women grow again when we allow the world, the government, to dictate what a community should look like? Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, on a base level, if you already saying that what the government is doing, then just turn that part of your life off on a base level. You know, I can go deeper, but yeah, don't listen to all of those things. You know, you determine and dictate what community should look like. You know, like I said, everybody's community, people that can't just force you into their community. Say, oh well, you know what, you're this, so you're part of this community now. You know what I mean? So that's just my quick little 2 cents on this.
Change your influence. I'm just pretty much rewording what Unc just said, because Unc literally said my immediate thought. Because if the government is telling, then don't listen to them. But what is the alternative? Because as men and women, we look for alternative to a thing we're used to. The alternative is change your influence. Don't let the government, the world, or the media, or your artists, or your comedians, or your athletes tell you what right looks like, what community looks like, what family looks like. Change your influence. Change your source of truth. And in that, as you walk in journey in that true source of truth, right, which is, to me, which I will always agree would be the word of the Most High. That is the source of truth for me. And so my closest community is going to, because I gravitate to people who use that as the source of truth. And so that's how my community gets built. Now, if we all agree that the source of truth is here, we'll start building a community that looks like the community in here. So that's my take.
I like it. I like it. My answer is going to sound very similar to what you guys said and very similar to what you're seeing in the chat. I think Lisa said what I was thinking. And then Dan said what I was thinking as well. I don't watch the news. I'm not really concerned with what they got going on. My source of community comes from a different aspect. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the government was never the source of me growing to start off with. It probably was the source of me getting some type of education because of a structured system that they had in play. But as I got older, I realized that there were some other things that I had to figure out. So as at the young age of 50, that's not what I look to for the sake of growing. I look to the things that we talked about previously. I focus on what the word says, not what the world says. And then those things kind of drive me forward. So great question, cousin. I appreciate that question. I hope our answers helped. If not, by all means, restructure another question, send it back, and we'll definitely answer that. With the time, gentlemen, I want to jump all the way down to our last question before we get into our final thoughts. What role does celebrating collective success play in motivating individuals and the community towards future goals?
I think, man, I'm just going to say right here, just speaking from an educator's perspective, I think this is something that we don't see enough in our community, right? I don't think we see a lot of celebrating A's in school. I don't think we see just a lot of things, honestly, other than like basketball and football and prom pictures. And I mean, come on now, what are we doing? But I ain't gonna go there tonight, right? So I will say that, I'm gonna go back to the military again, right? And we can say whatever we want to say about people who get promoted in the military, right? But I will say that when we win collectively, we inherently win as an individual. You know what I mean? When we as a community we achieve success in the military and we capture the flag, or we conquer the whatever, you know what I mean? Everybody individually feels better. I remember this might not be a good, well, no, it wasn't a success story. That was a tragedy where we pulled together. But yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with that. I just think that when everybody can see and win together, if all five of us are, I'm gonna get it. Bear with me, folks. I'm gonna get it together. All right. So let me slow down. Like my dad used to tell me, slow down and think about what I'm gonna say. All right. So I'm gonna bring it back down to us five over here, right? So when we get off the show, right, at the end, we always, like Coach always like, we have the show, whatever like this, and we kind of go around and we talk about it. And for the most part, we all feel like we have a successful show collectively. But also, we also can sometimes talk about, oh, well, you know what, God, there was some really good talking points that you said about this. Oh, man, Roland, I didn't even think about that, too. So I think that we all, at the end, we talk about it and we hear about it, but then sometimes as an individual, sometimes when you're singled out or when you're praised a little bit for doing something, I just think that it just is a place and it helps and it makes everybody want to be a better part of the community. It makes them just want to be better individually for the overall team or the community.
Yeah, I agree. I want to kind of flip my approach, because I was thinking about something while Uncle was talking, because I remember growing up, and I remember hearing a lot of people in our community talk about people who have made it out. We use the term, I hate that term for the record, but who have made it out of the community, succeed, and they go, well, I don't really care about their success. Why do I need to celebrate their success? It doesn't benefit me. And as I grew up, I've continued to hear the narrative, well, they didn't get successful for you. Why did they got to get success for you? Why they got to be something for you to do it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Your kids can be successful. Your blah, and on and on and on. And the reality of the statement, even though it was made out of pain, I kind of understand where they come from. And this question really made me understand it. It's the idea, because once you make it out of the community, then your resources are now in somewhere else, in another community. What you do benefits somewhere else. So I think when we celebrate each other's successes, whether great or small, we celebrate them, we motivate them, we all play a part in helping them grow, helping them pick up the pieces. We will stop having this mindset. And I'm not saying we have to stay in the projects or in bad housing, right? But the idea that growth means I made it out of the community, means I'm no longer a part of the community, means that when I make success, there's nothing that comes back to the community. And I'm not saying I got to go and give all my money back to the block I grew up on, but I can create things that teach people, the young kids on the block, how to grow with me, how to succeed as well. We can bring information at the minimum, and so sometimes what happens when we celebrate successes within our community, we keep people connected. And therefore it breeds a culture for the next generation of success. That's my take again.
I like it. I'm gonna try to keep mine very short and simple. I think success give work meaning. And for the most part, if you really stop and think about it, it makes perfect sense. If I'm working on a thing, but I never achieve any level of success in the work that I'm doing, then I'm going to start questioning the work that I'm doing. When we're doing it on a group, as a team, when the team wins, everybody on the team actually wins, because the joint winning environment of the entire team, I said joint winning time. So the winning that is reflected on the entire team, right? Now we're looking at our part, my little part participated in the collective success that we achieved. So the success that we achieve as the team not only gives the team meaning, but my part that I played gave what I am doing meaning to the team. And I think that in turn kind of goes back to the notion of buy-in and the results of buy-in. It's just like being at work. When we are working as a team and the team is successful, we can reflect on what we've done, or we can go back and reflect on how we've done what we've done so we can continue to get better, so we can create a winning culture. And I think that's ultimately what it is. Dan kind of hit the nail on the head. So thank you, brother. Not like I had any doubts that he would, but we have these conversations all the time. So awesome. Great input. I love Lisa Key's input. And I love Michelle Ray's reflection to getting out of Chicago, the shy. Listen, we greatly appreciate you guys wherever you are. Again, hit the like button. Again, share this with somebody who can benefit from this moving forward. This kind of takes us, and I want to kind of say this first because I'm trying something new tonight. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna let you go last. No, I want you to go first because you say you had something that you want to bring out. So I want you to go first. Gaddy, you next, and I'll go after you. So with that being said, that brings us to our bittersweet moment.
All right. So Coach said something earlier during the show, and he talked about well, never mind, it don't matter. So for my final thought tonight, we're talking about the right community can turbocharge the personal growth journey, right? So with that being said, there's a lot of people in the community. There are a lot of men, there are a lot of women, there are children, older people, young people. They come in all different shapes, sizes, forms, and all of those things. So what I would say is that everything in the community is not free. There are some people who have went out there, who have a lot of experience, who have worked hard, And if you want your community to grow, then that means that you have to be willing to invest into it. And it's not just investing your financial dollars in buildings or structures. Yes, that's part of it. But what are you investing in when it comes to the culture, right? So we have men out here who are therapists, and men and women who are therapists, who are leaders in the community and stuff like this, and they have businesses and they offer coaching, they offer therapy, they offer mentorship and stuff like this. So what I'm going to say, if we're talking about turbocharging the community, one thing we can do is invest in these people who have went out there and invested their money and their time to become something, and then they want to give back to the community, but they can't give everything back to the community. You know what I mean? We should be willing to help build them and help invest in their vision so they can help even more into the community. But none of these businesses and these these coaching platforms and these therapists and stuff like this, and these people that offer this mental support and stability, this stuff don't run on peanuts. So we have to be willing to invest financially into the culture as well, even, and not just, like I said, material things, but also mentally. We need to invest mentally into our culture, because if there are men and women out here are doing something, then we need to tap into that, and we need to learn how whatever they did to help benefit them, we can get part of that and to help build the next generation. So that's my final thoughts.
I think it's simple. We have to learn how to make our relationships real. I think so much we have these conversations about relationships, we talk about relationships, but I believe a lot of us have a superficial idea of what relationship is, meaning it's about what I can get or how it makes me feel versus how it benefits the whole, right? Not yes, what I put into it, right? Yes, what the other person put into my responsibility, my accountability, but our minds are constantly focused on the whole, on the big picture. And when we focus on our big picture, and we understand that everyone benefits when I benefit, then our motivation will be motivated more by the win. Right. I do think everything that we spoke about is important. But one thing I realized, not everything I succeed in life will be celebrated. Not everything I succeed in life will be recognized. But one thing that I can definitely be reassured about is that my family and my community will benefit from the success, because I got this promotion, because I got this new job, when I went and got this certification, when I went in, every small step I made, the community benefited. And that is the main goal. And that's where my excitement is. I think I think we have to learn how to get back to a point to where we are self-motivated. And yes, giving back to the community is a part of why we succeed. All right. I don't succeed so I can lord over anybody. I succeed so that I can grow with my community. So, and the end goal is that we reign with Christ together, not me reign over you. But that also means when you give back to the community, I have to be a part of what you are giving back. If you're building a program, we need to support it. We need to volunteer. We need to bring our kids. We need to bring our families. We need to support it. We need to let it grow, because we need each other at all times. That's my final thoughts.
In a world where subjectivity has become the new truth, I think it's important that we all understand two things specifically clear, like crystal clear. We need to understand the difference between responsibility and accountability. I need to be responsible for the things that I am supposed to be responsible for in my life and not hold anybody else responsible for it. I should not hold anyone else responsible for the things that I am supposed to do. I think that is important. That is the utmost important. Therefore, evidence becomes extremely important. Why? Because evidence helps me to understand whether or not I actually believe the things that I say I believe. If there is no evidence that I can see in my own life that validates the thing that I say I believe, then I need to check my belief system and believe a little harder. I need to do a little bit more work in the direction of the belief system that I say that I actually have. Also, as it pertains to this thing that we call relationship, there should also be evidence that there is an accountability metric for the people that I'm in relationship with. Am I pouring into you at the level that I'm called to do? Am I helping you as it pertains to the things that happen in your life? Am I there for you when you're going through a thing to where I will answer the phone and listen to what you got going on without judgment, especially if it is a very touching situation, with empathy, without the attachment that says that I need to do something? Because again, we tend to tip the scales at every possible choice in the direction in which is not healthy. So again, understanding the difference between responsibility and accountability will actually get us to the space to where we are an active participant. And I'm going to say that phrase again, that we are an active participant in the place that we call our community. If we are not an active participant in our community, then we are not in relationship with our community. We're only is existing in the community and saying that we're in relationship and hoping that everybody else is in relationship with us. It is no different than a bad relationship to where one person is entitled, expecting the other person just to do, and do more. And they just receive. Well, what is it that you're contributing? What is it that you're bringing to this relationship to uplift and edify the relationship in its entirety? Because the relationship is always the goal. And if we look at the relationship being the focus in the community, then how am I participating in community development? How am I participating in uplifting and edifying the community as a whole? How am I bringing my skill set, my values, and things of that nature to the community so that they can all thrive? And that, in my thoughts, is my final thoughts as it pertains to how the right community can turbocharge your personal growth journey. Listen, greatly appreciate you guys. I'm sorry we went over just a slight bit tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Again, this is Financial Literacy, National Financial Literacy Month. So again, we're going to kick off that tomorrow morning at 10:30. So I think you're going to definitely enjoy that. Also, as a gift for you joining us on YouTube, if you look at the top of the chat window, there is a free download for self-assessment. So again, I greatly appreciate that. We value you. We appreciate you guys. You guys in the chat, you're awesome. We definitely appreciate you. Listen, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to someone else, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
We don't do no staying houses. We walk down and flush them out. We don't play with the
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths